Today we're looking at how I put together this postcard for the Kooky Postcard SAL June 2025. Hello and welcome back to a Kooky Corner of YouTube. I thought that you lovely people would like to have a little look at how this postcard for this month was put together. Sometimes it gives you ideas for yourself, for different things to try, so it's always handy to have a look. And I like to see how people put things together. It's one of the things, I like to see how people's minds work when they're putting stuff like this together. So hopefully you're of the same mind as me. So this is a piece, is a little fishy. So obviously the theme for this month, or the prompt for this month, is under the sea. So we've got this little fishy and he's swimming around under the sea, and yeah, and I finished off the edges a little differently this time, so I'll take you through that too. This is how my piece starts, with a drawing. So this is a little fishy drawing that I put together. I think it was on Procreate. I kind of think it's Procreate, and I did it to the correct size I wanted it to be, and I printed it out. But I also printed it on some fabric solvay as well, or fabric solvay, so that I can use that in order to cut out my pieces and do some like applique on top of my fabric card, because it's quite a simple idea. It's quite a cartoony like fish, and I like him a lot. Very smiley, and we got a little bit of these seaweed pieces floating around. So the background for my piece is going to be blues and greens, and then my fishy I want to be more of an orangey red kind of a thing. And yeah, so that's the idea as I've got it down. So I try to sketch things out sometimes I don't. I just go straight in. If it's more of an abstract thing, then I'll probably just go straight in with stitches and pieces. But if it's an idea where I've got to actually fit something that's recognizable onto a piece, and I'll give it a little sketch through first and look at the sizings. And this is very handy as well, so you can use this to cut out your fabrics from as well. But the fabric solvay has got a different element to it. Means that you can stick it onto the fabric, cut around it, stitch into it, so all these little lines I'll be able to see on the fabric solvay, and I'll be able to stitch them as they are on this picture, exactly as they are, and then I'll be able to wash off the fabric solvay and I'll be left with the stitching. So yeah, two different elements towards this one, two different elephants to look at in this one. And so let's crack on. So the first thing I've done with my postcard is one of my usual techniques, which is to cut out a piece of felt which is 6 by 4, so 6 by 4 inches. And then I picked out some of my background fabrics that I want to add in, and just go through this with a running stitch from top to bottom. That's what I'm going to do with this now. And then what I will do is add in my applique pieces after I have finished that, just so I can see how everything fits together. Because sometimes when you do the running stitch up and down, it kind of shrinks the piece slightly. Not too much, but sometimes it can do. So with this, I'm going to pick a thread that will go quite well with it. So I'm going to pick out a greenish coloured thread from my stash, and I'm just going to stitch my way through this running stitch backwards and forwards until it's all stitched. So here's the piece when I have running stitched all the way from the top to the bottom, and it's all ready now for my applique pieces. So from the printout and also from the sulky, the fabric solvay, that's basically what I meant to say, I have cut out my fishy fabrics. Now I've used a contrasting colour, so I've gone with like oranges and reds so that this fish will stand out. So I don't know if you can see underneath here, I've got 2 different layers of fabric because I've cut out there and I've placed it on a background, and then I've put my stitch area on top so I can see where I need to stitch, which is quite handy. This makes things very easy when you want to transfer a specific design to a fabric. I've also done that for this coral, fronds of seaweed, not coral. What am I saying? And those will sit on there and I can just stitch those down, stitch into them, and that will work really beautifully. And also for the little bits that go on the top. So I've put that on some fabric, also left a little extra so it sits underneath. It's a bit of a jigsaw puzzle putting it back together, but it's a very good way of transferring stuff. So let's do the fishy first. Let's do him first because I can fit the other bits around him then. So I'm going to use my pins. I could use glue or whatever, but I'm going to use my pins because why not? So I'm going to pin his face there. Now the Fabric Salvi stuff will come off in water. I soak it off at the end, so I'm not overly worried about that. Everything that I've got here is washable. And I'm going to pin his fins in place there. That will catch the fabric underneath there, just enough for me to stitch. I've also got his tail here. Now his tail is on just a piece of photocopy paper, so I want to slot that underneath there, like so. I think it's that way around, yeah. And I can pin all of that together. And then this is the bottom part with the fins on. I'll pull that back up there so you can see. So I'm just going to line that up with the base. And the handy thing about this is I've got stitching lines here that I can use to stitch these down. I am actually going to use a black for this because I think he's quite like he's a bit more of a cartoony kind of character, I think, rather than a realistic fish. I don't know if you got that. So yeah, that's going to go there. Now, what I want to do is interweave this with his tail a little bit. Kind of wanting it to go a bit like that. So I want to pin his tail down again. And then this seaweed, which is underneath the sulky Salvi stuff, Fabric Salvi is that. So I think that'll contrast fair enough. Again, I'm going to use maybe a dark green for that, perhaps. I'll see when I'm stitching it down. But I'm just going to play around with stitching it now. I'm going to follow the lines, maybe a back stitch or a split back stitch to get those down. And yeah, have a nice listen to my podcast again and get all these bits stitched in so that it will look rather nice. I can stitch all these little lines on as well. So the pattern's taken care of by the fabric, and then the stitching over the top will just emphasize certain parts of it. So I'm going to stitch his eye and everything else, and that's all pinned down now nicely for me to stitch into. So I'm going to grab myself some pearl thread, I think this time, just to stitch all these details in. So I'm going to go and stitch all that down now, and I'll show you what it looks like when I have finished. So here is my piece after it's had a little bath to get rid of the Fabric Salvi on top, and it's just kind of drying off now. we can have a look at it. We can see I quite like this frayed edgy thing around the stitching. The stitching's turned out really nicely. Well, I think it has anyway. I think it's achieved what I wanted it to achieve. So now what I want to do is to put a little brad in for the eye. I did consider stitching it, and then I thought, no, I actually like the look of the brad that goes inside. Just throwing things all over the floor. One eye is all we require, as the other one isn't visible. So I've got another one of my big painted, enamel painted brads. And where's my awl gone? That's a very good question. It will be here somewhere, possibly in here, yeah. Okay, so I want it to sit close to that edge. So put my awl through, put my brad through, and open it up the back. Yay! That's cool. I like that. So he's kind of side-eyeing me at the moment. So now you'll notice we have little bits that are still sticking up, bits that need to be stitched down. I'm going to stitch into this as well, and I'm going to do something a little bit different with the edges this time. It did shrink a little bit that way, and it was also kind of under a 6-inch. So what we've got at the minute is a little scant of 4 inches and about 5.5. So what I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to put some edging on it, just by way of a change. Why not? That's what life is for, variety, isn't it? But first of all, I think I'm just going to stitch all these little bits down that were still loose from when I just put the first pass of the stitching down. I tend to do that anyway, just so that I can see which areas are visible after you've put your main piece of applique in. But I'm really loving this little fuzzy edge from the fabric. I think that's great. I really like that a lot. So the stitching came out really nicely, and it's nice to have something to follow with the fabric salvie on top, so you can stitch into it, and then as it melts away, then it's all revealed underneath with these lovely patterns. I was just considering just taking this edge a bit, because that's where the edge of the fabric came to. Yeah, that's better. Yeah. So I've got like a defined head and body area there now, with the little fins and tail in a different reddy colour, which I think works really well. And yeah, I'm going to wait for this to dry, and then I can start stitching more into it and adding on those edge pieces. So we'll wait for that to dry, and I'll be back in a while. So here we are with a little update on our fishy. This is what I'm doing with the edges. So I left one free so that I could show you. I did the short edges first, and obviously then I'm doing the longer edges to include the short edges at the side, if you see what I mean, and then I'm turning these under. With the short edges at the side, I didn't bother turning anything under because it's going to get hidden inside this bit here. So yeah, saving time really. But before that, what I've added in here are some extra stitches. We've got some beads, we've got some more stitching going on. So I've gone into the background and just added a few things in and made sure that everything that's in there is secure and down, basically, and it's not going to come free. Right, so how this goes is you lay a length of your fabric along the edge. On these ones I've turned the edges in as well, so that I've got like a nice neat finish on the outside. It's not something I always do, but I'm really enjoying the little bit of quilting that I'm doing at the minute. So yeah, I'm just getting a bit of practice in. Well, not really. I would do mitered corners probably on my quilt, but This is just a little postcard, so it's all good. So face down, so right side's facing, a line of stitching that goes all the way down there, really quite close to the edge. And then you just flip it over, fold it in, and fold it over. And you've got a nice, neat finish. Well, I say neat as I get, let's put it that way. And I'm just going to play around with this a little bit so that I can get it just right. Snip those little bits of thread that are dangling out there. And I've got my little clippy clips. My handy dandy clips are back. Yay for the clips. Okay. Clips really do help. Turn that under. Making sure I've got it all enclosed. So with the edges, you can go down with machine. I actually did it with the machine because it was going to be a little quicker. You could do it by hand or machine. I do it both ways depending on how much time I've got. The machine was there set up, so I thought, well, okay, why not? Let's do this. I need another clip in the middle. Okay, so then I just get my thread, handily rethreaded already, and I am going to go in from the underneath under here, so I can hide that little end bit. Come on. I'm just going to over sew it. Not going through to the front, just kind of catching it down onto the backing felt. Yes, I did back it with some felt as well. The piece I was doing was on felt, but I backed it onto some backing felt as well, just because I think it finishes it off quite nicely, and I wanted to add something else in. So there was a method in my madness. This is not as neat as it could be, but you know, it's all good. It's all good. We like a bit of wonk. Embrace the wonk. That's what I say. Embrace the wonk. We have to embrace it. Otherwise, it'll drive you mad. The aim for perfection can drive you bonkers. So just chill out, have fun, embrace the wonk. Stitch it all the way along here. Now, I'll probably be doing another one of these at some point, maybe towards the end of this month, because I've got a busy time coming up and I've got a lot of other things I want to do as well. But I'm really kind of hankering after making this a set of 2. So that's a plan. Not like I haven't got 1,000 other things to do instead. But I have this mind that races on ideas. I don't think I ever get to the stage where I get a block, and the reason being is I don't stop. It's just a case of just keep going, and I don't ever get to the point where I've got some kind of a block, because I like so many things. I like stitching, I like artwork. So I've always got 101 things on the go, and I don't ever get to a point where, I don't know, it's probably not good for me not to stop. That wasn't the best join in the world, but hey, we'll just stitch it over. So yeah, maybe I should take breaks, but I don't feel happy unless I've made something. Making things makes me happy. So I don't think I'm going to stop anytime soon. I just keep going. Right, I've got that end to sew in as well, and that end to sew in there, but you get the drift, you get the idea. So this is going to be my postcard for this month. Now the idea that I had, because I wanted to put the backing, I usually do put a backing on, to be fair, but the idea I had was, I can't remember who it was, I'll try and put a link in the description if I remember. She was making these beautiful little tiny wee like fabric stamps. So I thought, oh, that'll look good on a postcard. And then I've got a little postcardy, like the little thing that they put on when they frank your stamp or whatever. I don't know what they do nowadays, actually. It's all digital, isn't it? I do like a nice stamp anyway. So I thought I'd put those on the back of there. Just because, and why not? So they're going to be stitched on as well. But yeah, that's it. That's my little fishy. And I will try and find the link for those fabric stamps because they are really cute. I can't remember offhand. I watch so many different things and I try and make notes of the things I watch so that I can tell you guys, but I have got it written down in a book that is not with me at the moment. So I will put a link in where this idea came from so that you can have a little look at that as well. There he is, Mr. Fishy Under the Sea prompt completed. Well, half completed because I'd like to do another one if I get a chance. So I have got another idea in the works. It's kind of like the polar opposite of this. It's like night and day. Yin and yang. Anyway, that's enough from me. I hope you've enjoyed this. If you have, don't forget to show me those thumbs. And if you are enjoying the content here and you want to know when I'm uploading my next video, then if you subscribe, costs you nothing. If you subscribe, I will do a happy dance and you will get a notification when I upload my next video. That's enough, and I'll be back here very soon with something else. Bye for now.